out surrounding the so-called Trump dossier. This week, we learned that the Clinton campaign and the DNC spent several $1 million to pay for a phony dossier filled with dirty Russian sources. Here's Clinton's former spokesman on that.
Just to be clear, Brian, you have said previously in the last 24 hours you don't believe Hillary Clinton knew about this either. Is that right?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't asked. I haven't spoken to her. No.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
Shouldn't she know? Shouldn't you, someone so high up in the campaign, be informed of this?
Well, I mean, she may have known, but the degree of...
And totally denied this. She didn't know anything. She knew nothing. All of a sudden it found out. What I was amazed at, it's almost $6 million that they paid, and it's totally discredited. It's a total phony. I call it fake news. It's disgraceful.
Joining me now, editor-in-chief of DailyWire.com, Ben Shapiro, and Democratic strategist Richard Fowler. So, Ben, let's start with you. Do you believe Hillary is lying when she claims she didn't know about funding the fake dossier, or do you believe she's so incompetent that her campaign was spending millions and she just didn't know?
I find it highly implausible that she didn't know that the campaign was spending millions of dollars on the dossier. The big question here is going to be what level of culpability she holds for the dossier, including sources that are clearly inside the Russian government, especially while the entire campaign was going out there claiming that Trump was colluding with Russia in order to take down Hillary. Now it looks like there's a fair bit of evidence that the Hillary Clinton campaign was at least working with a spy who was working with the Russian government in order to dig up dirt on Trump.
Let me ask you that, Richard. Same question. Did she know? Yes or no?
I don't know.
You don't know. Do you think she should have known?
I mean, I think we have to figure. I think we should ask the Clinton campaign. We should ask Hillary Clinton these questions. I think they paid this company to do opposition research, and as part of that opposition research, it seems to be clear from the evidence that this individual worked with the Russians to dig up information on the president. And I do.
So she paid for a guy to work with Russians.
No, excuse me. She paid for a firm. This particular, based on this evidence,
worked with Russians.
Went to the Russians and got information.
Okay.
If this is true,
did she collude with the Russians?
I don't know.
Well, you just said she paid money to have a guy.
You're asking me like I work for the. You're asking me like I work for the Clinton campaign.
Well, I'm just using your same argument that you used against Don Jr.
I didn't use that argument against Don Jr.
Your party said that was collusion.
Whoa. Hold on. Let's be. There was emails released, and I've said, and you've heard me say this. I said on the 5. I've said it with you. I've said it over and over again. You can't use a group of leaked emails to make facts off of them. We only saw some of these emails, not all these emails. Mueller has seen all these emails. Mueller and his team is the only person who knows what actually happened in that meeting, and the obvious people in the meeting who know that. So we have to wait to see with this investigation what they know and we have to wait to see what happens at the end of that investigation. Okay. But let's be very clear here. He met with these particular Russian lawyers about adoptions and sanctions and other things, and we have to wait to see what happens.
I don't think Don Jr. ever paid anybody millions of dollars. Ben, let me ask you a question. If the FBI or the Department of Justice under President Obama used this fake dossier paid for by Hillary as the basis to ask for FISA warrants to spy on Trump campaign officials, how wrong would that have been?
So the big question here is whether every claim in the dossier is untrue or whether the most spectacular claims in the dossier, the P tape and all that nonsense, whether only that part is untrue. It's possible, to give the FBI the benefit of the doubt. It is possible that the FBI looks at the dossier, they go and they independently verify some elements of the dossier and use that as an excuse for a FISA warrant. If they didn't do that, if they just took the dossier at face value, or if they knew that the claims in the dossier were not true and then they went and got a FISA warrant based on that, and a FISA judge ruled wrongly based on that, then that would obviously be scandalous. It would be the politicization of the FBI on behalf of the Clinton campaign. And
it's funny because the FBI and the Department of Justice have not really been forthcoming about the dossier, if there was money that changed hands, if that was used as a justification. But I want to get to Richard on something. Uranium One. Is this a big problem for the Clintons? Because as you know, millions of dollars, over about $145 million poured into the Clinton Foundation right before, during, and after she checked the box to sign off on allowing Russia to have access to 20% of the uranium deposits in North America.
So a couple things on this Uranium One deal. Thing number one, there was 9 government agencies that was part of the commission that made a decision to give 20% of our uranium to this particular company, number one. Number two, and more importantly, the individual that we're talking about here who gave money to the Clinton Foundation divested 3 years prior to ever giving money to the Clinton Foundation. And number three, Jesse, I understand the concern. I understand why people in America are concerned about this uranium deal. And if they are concerned, let's not waste time with a political hearing. Let's not waste time with Trey Gowdy and Devin Nunes having a committee hearing about this. And let's actually have seasoned professional prosecutors look at the evidence. Let's have a grand jury impaneled, and let's see if Hillary Clinton, her State Department, and the Clinton Foundation actually engaged in wrongdoing.
Well, and if
there was criminal malfeasance, and let's move on.
That's a
but
fair
let's
assessment.
not play political games.
Okay,
with
well,
this.
I mean, it's politics, so their games are going to be played. Real quick, Ben, I want to get your take. Greg Jarrett, over our guy at Fox News, said that there are some possible crimes Hillary could be facing if indeed this is as bad as it looks. Racketeering, there's a bribery, there's a wire fraud possibility. How do you see this playing out? Is it going to get worse, this uranium deal?
I'd be surprised if it doesn't. I mean, obviously, I agree with Richard that maybe a special counsel should be appointed to take a look at the uranium deal and investigate the FBI and the DOJ, too, because obviously they knew that there was corruption going on between Rosatom, the Russian Atomic Energy Agency that was responsible for this deal, and the Russian government, and they'd said nothing at the same time that this deal was being approved. So a special prosecutor seems like a serious possibility here. This is not a place where criminal activity is utterly off the wall. It's definitely possible that something criminal here happened. I do definitely agree with Richard that a full investigation is warranted.
Okay, Ben.